Voice agents that do stuff are cool, but the part that actually is important to clients is the data. And now the question is, what happens with all of the data after a call is finished? My name is Tim. I've been building conversational AI systems for about the past 2.5 years, landing multi-5-figure projects. And today I will show you the exact end-of-call report blueprint you can implement into your voice agents right now so that they are infinitely more powerful. So here's what we're going to cover. First, I will break down what the end-of-call report is and why we need it. Second, how we can save that data into GHL. And then third, we're going to look at an advanced way with Supabase so you can blow your client expectations out of the water. Let's get into it. So for those of you that are new here, hello again. My name is Tim. I'm the founder of Eximus, and we help service-based businesses reduce the speed to lead to a maximum of 30 seconds and have all their inbound calls answered 24/7. So if you're struggling with either of those, hit the first link in the description and go through the 1-minute lead leak check. No sign-up required. It'll identify where leads are leaking through your funnel. And again, no sign-up required. First link in the description. Now, here's today's scenario. You install a speed-to-lead agent or a receptionist in your business and somebody requests more information. They are being called by the agent, they have a good conversation, and the call ends. Now what? Well, this is how the end-of-call report comes into play. It will be automatically generated after each call and sent as a webhook to your server URL specified in the agent. And it will contain all the data about the call we need for gaining the information and analytics to know if the agent performs good or bad, and also to provide accurate reporting to clients. But for that to work, there are some things that have to be true in order to actually gain really valuable information about the calls. The first thing is very obvious. You need to have a voice agent configured. Today we're building in Vapi, and it has to have a system prompt and all the settings. The second thing is you have to have structured data configured, so we gain intelligence from the call based on what the agent asks in the system prompt or in the call. The third thing, to actually save the structured data, we have to have the custom fields in GoHighLevel configured that match exactly. And then the fourth thing is we have to have a persistent data storage to actually store the longer term data, which we can derive analytics from. And today we're using Supabase for that, but you can also use something like Airtable or Google Sheets, for example. So the first thing obviously that you need to do is you go to Vapi and you are going to create an assistant. I have an assistant already created. Important is that you also have a good system prompt, which talks about stuff, which asks qualifying questions, and the answers to those questions is the data we want to extract from the call. And to write the system prompt, you can use my custom voice AI prompting engineering GPT. You can find it in my resource hub. That's the second link in the description down below. And it will give you a prompt like this. And then we need to set up the structured data outputs. For that, you go to structured data, and here you can see the structured data outputs that I have configured. I have average appointment value, average response time, how many estimates, happy with number of inquiries, new roofing projects, appointment time, appointment date, appointment booked, call summary. So these are the data points that I extract from each conversation. Obviously, these might be different for you. And if you want to create them your own, you go to create structured output, and you can either use one of the presets, for example, for call summary, appointment booked, appointment date, appointment time. I used the presets here, the call summary, appointment booked, true or false, then appointment, not status, appointment date, and appointment time here. And the other ones is something I added myself. So for that, you can create from scratch. You give it a name, you give it a quick explanation, and then you can input the type of data you want. So for example, if I want to know if my potential client is taking on new roofing projects at the moment, this is either yes or no. So either true or false, and that's why I use Boolean as a data point. Then I can describe it again, and then what I will do down here is I will link it to the assistant I'm actually using. So in this case, search assistants, and I'm going to use Tina, speed to lead SMS caller. Just select it here, and then if we hit save, then this structured data output would be linked to the agent, and then when a call finishes, because it's linked, that data point will be evaluated based on the transcript and then stored. But we already have this in place, so we're just going to click X, and just to show you, we're in the agent here, and we can go to, just scroll down to analysis, and there you can see that the old ways of data summary are being deprecated. But that's why we have the structured outputs. And if you click on here, you can see that I have assigned these structured data outputs. You can also add more. And you can view the call logs here. And now that we have the data extracted from the conversation and provided to us via the end-of-call report, we need to somehow set up the specific custom fields in GHL in order to save those data points. And then we are going to go into our GHL account, into settings, and then custom fields. And first we are going to create a new folder, and we will call this roofing qualification, and select an object, and this is based on the contact. So we're going to hit contact and then save. And now we can go into folders, roofing qualification, and then we can add a field. And now we are going to add the exact same fields that we basically got from Vapi from the structured data output. And I will just do this off screen right now, and then I come back. And something I just forgot is that obviously the data type has to match. So if we are here, we can select basically the data type. If we have a number which is generated, we obviously have to choose number here. So as an example, if we go back to Vapi, we have the how many estimates they get per month. That's a number, and that's why if we are in GHL and we create the custom field, we also have to choose a number here. And then you just give it a name, and you can leave the rest as is and then just hit save. Then you will make yourself an account with something like G Sheets or Airtable. In this case, we will use Supabase. Supabase is a Postgres SQL database in which we can obviously store data. And we do that in having set up two tables, a calls table and calls artifacts. This is either through their GUI, you can set this up through their UI, or you can set this up with SQL commands. The good thing is you don't have to know these, because if you go to my resource hub, the very last item here is a end-of-call report search blueprint. I posted this a couple of weeks ago on LinkedIn, which is basically those two tables, so the calls table and the calls artifacts table, with the complete schema. So you can just take these snippets, copy and paste them over to this SQL editor, just paste them in here, hit run, and then you should have the tables over here. Obviously, if you want to adjust the columns here, so the columns are the stuff in the front, which is in white. If you want to adjust these and you have no idea how SQL works, you will go to your LLM of choice and you will do the following. I have a sample database schema for Supabase for a Vapi AI call analytics table. The table is called call artifacts, and I will paste the schema preset I have below. The columns at the bottom are different to the columns I use from the structured outputs in Vapi, and that's why I want you to go through the SQL schema and analyze the screenshot of the structured outputs and then adjust the columns to what I actually extract from the call so that the database schema is matching my data requirements. Click here. Then shift enter, and then you can paste the database below, and then go back to Vapi, just make a screenshot of the structured outputs. So we only need this information. Go back to ChatGPT, add the screenshot, maybe turn on thinking, and then hit enter. And now we're just gonna wait until we get a nice SQL output. And in this case, you don't have to worry about the actual table setup, because now it's gonna match the data requirements that you have for your Vapi structured outputs. But then afterwards, you should have two tables, one calls table and one call artifacts table. Okay, and now for the actual build, let's get straight into it. We will obviously work with GHL, as I've mentioned before, and what you're going to do is you're going to go to your sub account, then you go to automations, and then you create a new workflow. Every single workflow is constructed from two elements. We have a trigger and we have actions that come after the trigger. And in our case right here, our trigger is the inbound webhook. You don't really have to set up that much here. You can just rename it, and you will get a URL. And what you will have to do is you're gonna have to copy this URL. So click here to copy, and then you will go to your Vapi account, to the Vapi assistant. You will scroll all the way down until you see messaging, and then under server settings, the server URL, this is where you will paste the URL. Obviously, I've already done this. And then also what you are gonna do is under server messages, you will make sure that end of call report is ticked. What will happen is that Vapi will send all of these webhooks to this specific server URL. But this workflow is only for the end of call report. So what you will do is you will filter out all the server messages that are not the end of call report, and you will continue working with all the ones that are the end of call report. And this works by having an if or else condition here. So we have the condition with yes when the type is end of call report, but the way to get to this type is we will have to trigger the webhook once. So what you will do now is you will go to your Vapi account wherever you are triggering the call from, or like call the number, call the assistant, and then you will finish a call, you will complete a call, and after you completed the call, the end of call report will be generated and sent to this webhook, and that's what we need to do in order to continue. So either you complete the call or you send a end of call report that has already been generated via something like Postman. You don't have to understand this, just send the end of call report via completing a call with the agent itself. This is quicker for me now. So if I hit send here, you can see that this is a type end of call report, and if I hit send, then this will be sent to the server URL. As you can see, there's success request sent to trigger execution server. And now if I go back, this is important now, mapping reference. We have a new mapping reference, which you can see 20th of January, 9:14 a.m. It is currently 9:14 a.m. So I'm gonna select this one and then hit save trigger. And now down the line, as I've mentioned before, we have the condition, the if-else condition. If this is an end of call report, then continue. If not, then go somewhere else, but not into this workflow. And what you will do is you will hit this box here. Let's just walk you through. It is you select, then you will go down to inbound webhook trigger, message, and then type. Then select is, and then type in end of call report. And now every single time a message is sent to this server and the type is equal to the end of call report, then the workflow continues. And if not, then this specific message will be sorted out. We save, and then we continue. Obviously, we continue with the yes part because we only want to have end of call reports. And what we do next is we update or create a contact. And we do this by having the phone number, which we are talking to, the email address we are talking to, and then the full name, which we are talking to. In my specific use case, we already have this information, not from the conversation with the AI, but already before that. Because what I was doing for this specific example is I just created a demo website with a form, and if I input my information into these boxes, so first name, last name, equals full name, and then the phone number and email address, I get called, kind of like a speed to lead caller, and that's why we have that information already available. And then we can just, let's see, click this thing here, inbound webhook trigger, then you will go to message, we want to customer, yes, and then customer number. And this way we get the phone number, and the same way we get the email address, it's the same path, just with the email at the end, and for the full name it's also the same path, just with name. Hit save, and now every time an end of call report comes in, we create or update the contact. Next up, we want to log the call into GHL, because at this point in time, when we complete the call, GHL doesn't actually know that we had a phone call happen. And it doesn't know if it's an inbound call or an outbound call. No context on what the, for example, recording URL is. And that's why we can log external calls within GoHighLevel. This is what we do down here with the two green nodes here. Now the issue is that in order to log these calls, we need the direction. This is required. And the direction is if it's an inbound call, so if a person, for example, called my business, or if it's an outbound call, which would be the case when I called someone else. Now we get the direction from Vapi, but not in the required format. As you can see here, under directions, we have entered the call direction, inbound/outbound. And if this value is any different, then the call won't work. And if we go back to the top, to the trigger, to the inbound webhook, we can see JSON. And what you can see here is that the call type is not inbound or outbound, but it's inbound phone call or outbound phone call. And if we use this variable in the GHL node below, it would error out because it's not only inbound or only outbound, but it's outbound phone call or inbound phone call. And that's why we filter. Just remember this real quick. Before we log the call, we have another condition. And this is to evaluate exactly that. We evaluate if this is an inbound call or if this is an outbound call. And we do this in a fairly simple way. We, again, select the call type basically. So go to inbound webhook trigger, message, then we go to call, and then we go to type, and we select the operator, which is this time not is, so it's not equal to, but it contains inbound. Because when you remember, the way that Vapi transfers the message is actually, or the message type is inbound phone call or outbound phone call. And now if either inbound or outbound is contained in this message, then we know which route to go. And therefore, in the next step, when we then actually log the call, we can confidently say, okay, the direction here is inbound. This is not a variable. This is hard-coded. This will always evaluate to inbound. And the same goes for the other path, which is outbound. This is, again, not a variable, but it's always outbound. If this was a bit quick, I'm sorry. The TLDR is we need to know if it's an inbound call or if it's an outbound call before we actually log the call. And that's what we do with this condition. We check if the call type contains inbound, or we check if the call type contains outbound. And based on this condition, we can know what direction the call is. Now from here on, both of these paths are identical. I will just walk down the outbound path for you guys to see. So the node name here is log external call. The action name, you can name it whatever you want. The direction here is outbound. And the date is a variable, which is when the call actually started. This is how I save it. Make sure this is in ISO 8601 format. Then the 2 is the receiver's phone number. So if you think about it, this is an outbound phone call. So I make a phone call to somebody else. So in this case, the 2 phone number is the customer number. So in order to get this, you go to variable, inbound webhook trigger, message, then customer, and then number. The from is the phone number where this call was made from. In this case, if I make a phone call to somebody else, this is my phone number. And the way we get this is we go to here, inbound webhook trigger, message, then this time phone number, and then number here. The call status is answered. Yes, here are different call statuses, But again, with the way how Vapi sends the end of call report, this is a bit difficult. So we just put answered in here. It's not the most accurate, but we could update this later too if we wanted to. And then for the attachment, this is our call recording URL, and we get this by clicking here, then inbound webhook trigger, message, and then we can just go to recording URL and click here. Save the action, and then we go on to the next, which is we add a note to the contact. So when a call happens, obviously we want to associate a bit of information about the call with the contact, and we do this with notes. And we keep it fairly simple here. We just add the call date, which, you know, these variable values you can get if you click this custom value icon here, and it's the same as before. So click this inbound webhook trigger, message, and then started at. This is the call date. Then we have the AI call summary. So if we just have a brief look at the call before we, I don't know, like email the client, we can just read through the summary of the call and know exactly what happened. And then we have the call outcome, which is, you know, the success evaluation. This kind of depends on how you set up your agent, on what analytics you set up, on what like scorecards you set up. But I mean, at the end of the day, this is completely up to you. You can log whatever you want in here, but that's the information we take into account. Save the action, and then next up we have update custom contact fields. Now, this is important, and this is again completely specific to your specific agent. If we go back to Vapi, and if you remember earlier, I think I've touched on this before, if you go to structured outputs, this is exactly what we're talking about. So in this case, we have 9 structured outputs, which are automatically being generated based on the conversation transcript in Vapi before the end of call report is sent. So when we receive the end of call report in GHL, this is the information we get about the conversation. And obviously we already created custom fields for this exact use case. And now we fill the custom fields on the contact based on what we get in GHL. And this is exactly what we do here. So we have the update contact field. Here, action tape, update field data, and then we just select all the fields we want to update. So all the fields we just created, which are the same as all the 9 structured outputs which we have configured here. And then we select the corresponding variable. In Vapi, this is a bit tedious because of this. As you can see in the back here, we have a number string, or like a usual string, which does not allow us to identify which of the structured output fields this actually is. So when you add a new one, so for example, let's just remove the appointment booked. Let's just remove this for now. What you would do is you would go to add field, then select the field. You would have to scroll down to custom fields, appointment booked, and then what you do is you click this icon here. You go to inbound webhook trigger, message, and then you go to artifact. You scroll over, and then you will see structured outputs. If you scroll down a bit, then you have to scroll horizontally again. Now, this is what you're going to see. This is going to be confusing. These are the strings from the structured outputs. These are the IDs in Vapi. Don't get confused. It's fairly simple how to get there. We just switch over back to Vapi again. We go to structured outputs, and then we can see the list of all the structured outputs we have. And we want to get the appointment booked structured output here. And we just click in here, and on the top here is where we can see the ID. It's 5C65. And then we can go back and we can just scroll down here, search for the ID 5C65, click on it, and then we have to scroll horizontally again and click on result, and then we have it saved. That's a bit tedious, it's a bit confusing maybe, but you just have to match the ID you see in GHL to the correct structured output ID, which you can see in Vapi, and then get the result of that. And yeah, I mean, that's how you configure all of these. You might have different ones. You probably have different ones. So it's a bit tedious just switching back and forth from Vapi to GHL, but I'm sure you're gonna manage to do this. And if you've done this, you are basically done with the basic setup. You could just leave it at that and be confident that all of the call information is logged correctly from Vapi to GHL to the specific contact. We have a node, we update the custom fields, everything is good. But in reality, clients value data. And what you now cannot do is you can't give them a custom dashboard with detailed information about, for example, the average call length or the average call cost, or what's the objection is which is most often used. And in order to do this, we will have to use a third party, which I mentioned before. In our case, this is Supabase. And we use Supabase in combination with N8N. But first, when you have not created your Supabase account yet, go ahead and do this now. Now, this is important because what we are going to do now is we're going to take all the data we have in GHL from Vapi and send it to N8N, to Supabase, so we can store the data. And with the data stored in Supabase, we can do many cool things like building custom dashboards, and especially enterprise clients, especially the ones that pay the most, they love data and they want analytics, and they want to see what's going on with their voice AI system. And that's not really possible with GHL, but that's possible if you store the data and then build a custom dashboard, for example. And the way we send the data to N8N is really simple. We have a custom webhook, but in order to send a custom webhook to an endpoint, we obviously have to have the webhook URL ready. So to do this, you will go into N8N, you will create a new workflow with a webhook trigger. The webhook is HTTP method post, and you can rename the path however you want it to, respond immediately, then copy the URL, go back to GHL and paste the URL here. The method here is post2, and we have no authorization, no headers, no query parameters. Content type is application JSON, and this is the raw body. This is really simple. We are sending two things. We are sending the whole end of call report message we got from Vapi. We just pass it onto N8N. You could do this more specific, like more granular here if you wanted to, but I'll just do it this way. I just have message equals the inbound webhook message, and then another thing we need is the contact ID. You get this by hitting custom values, contact, and then ID. Fairly simple. And no, I just want to click out here, click X, and then you hit save action, and now your workflow is actually ready in GHL. But what we need to do is we need to do stuff in N8N. So what you will do is you will switch back to N8N, exit out of the webhook node, and you need only two more things. You could go crazy here, you could do anything you want, but for staying essential, we need two more things. We need one Supabase node to ingest into the calls table, and we need one Supabase node to ingest into the call artifacts table. Now, the way you get these nodes is you just click plus and then search for Supabase, and then you will use create a row, because you want to create a new entry in both of these databases. So we create a new row, and that's here. So if you go in here, resource row, operation create, then we have the table. So you have to select the correct table here. And then what you will have to do is, I have already mapped the fields, but this will not be there for you. What you will have to do is you click add field, and then you can select the column in Supabase. So for example, the Vapi call ID, this is the column you want to transfer. And then what you will have to do is, from the webhook you got from GHL, you will have to search for the Vapi call ID. And this is hidden in the call thing here, which is call ID string, and then just pull it over, Vapi call ID, there you've got it. I will delete this because I have this done already. The only thing I haven't mapped yet is the external CRM ID. I'm not sure, I think it's not transferred yet, because in order to actually get the information to this webhook, you would need to trigger the whole GHL workflow once again. So as soon as you've set up the webhook, just hit save. Then if you have copied the test URL, click listen for test event. And if you've got the production URL in GHL, then just publish the workflow. Go back to your GHL account and just double check which URL you have. I have the webhook URL, the normal one, not the test URL. So what I will do is I will just, again, trigger the end of call report workflow from Postman. And if I do this, I hit send. You can see status success. Go back to GHL. We can look into the execution logs, and now we should see a new workflow execution started. So added to workflow, 9:49 a.m. That's me. And we can see sent to N8N has been executed. So if you go back to N8N into executions, we can see that this has been submitted. Obviously, we have an error because there's a mapping error, but we will just click debug in editor. And now we have the new information here. So go back to the first node. Yes, I have a duplicate Vapi call ID because it's already saved. But the important thing here is that everything is mapped. And what we haven't mapped yet is the external CRM ID. So I'm going to go all the way down. And as you can see, we have the external CRM ID here. And we just drag it over. So this is fine. And now I just quickly deleted the entry we already have from the database. We can execute the step again. And now if you get this green check mark here, you know that the information has been successfully ingested into the database. And what you're going to do now is you're going to add another Supabase step. What you will have is resource row, operation create, and the table name or ID. This is the old call artifacts table. I will use the new one. And some of this will match, some of this won't. I will just delete everything for now. And now you can map this live with me. So call ID, I think, should be generated automatically if I'm not mistaken. So we're not going to do this. We have the transcript, which we will get from this webhook. We will collapse everything. Okay, and now we get the transcript from here. So transcript, string, pull it over. Then we have the analysis next, which is analysis, and we just pull the whole thing into here. Then we have the call summary, for which we go to summary, string, and just pull it over. I mean, you get the idea here. You have the column in which you want to input a specific information, and you will search the information in the webhook you got from GHL, or more specifically from Vapi, and you will just drag it into there so that every single time this workflow is executed, the correct information is inserted into the database. But now, if we ingest this thing here, we should get a yes. And what we do now is we reference this ID, which just has been newly created here. And now we also get a yes. So if you go into Supabase now, we can see that in the calls table, if we update here, we have an entry. And in the call artifacts table, if we look into here, we also have a value. And as we can see, we even have created it, updated it, and TSV, and all the values that we need. And now let's just run through the whole system end to end. We have set this live. We have the production URL in our GHL account. So if we go into here, we have the production URL, and now what we can do is we can make a live test call and see this working in action. So if we go into execution logs, last has been at 9:49 a.m. and if I input my information into this demo page right here, then you can see that I will be called in a second. 3, 2, 1. There is the call.
Hi, Tim. This is Tina calling from Eximus on a recorded line. You recently inquired about improving your lead handling. Do you have a minute to chat?
Yes, I do. How can I help you?
Great. And just to make sure my notes are right here, this is Tim I'm speaking with, right?
Yeah, this is me.
Nice to meet you, Tim. I just had a few quick questions to understand your business and see if we align. Would you be opposed to that?
No, you can go ahead.
Excellent. So just to confirm, are you taking on new re-roofing projects this month?
Yes, I am. I could use some more, to be honest.
Got it. Are you happy with the number of roofing inquiries you're getting right now?
No, definitely not.
Yeah, that's pretty common, especially right now. That's actually exactly why we built what we did. Let me ask you one last thing. Just as a rough figure, how many estimates do you handle per month?
Should be right around like 7.
Okay, got that down. With that in mind, how quickly do you usually respond to leads once they inquire?
I normally respond within 48 hours.
We've seen booking intent jump 5-fold when leads are followed up within the hour. We'll talk more about that in the consultation. For now, what's a qualified meeting worth to your business?
Probably around $250.
Awesome, I'll note that down. Now, Tim, if I told you we'd generate you leads, then contact them immediately within 30 seconds. Qualify and book directly into your calendar within a matter of minutes. What would something like that be worth to your business?
Oh, I would probably gladly pay like 3 to 4K for that.
Perfect. Based on what you've shared, it sounds like this could be a strong fit. I'd love to set up a quick 15-minute call with Tim, our CEO, to walk you through results we've had with companies like yours. Does that sound fair enough, Tim?
Now, we don't have to go through the appointment booking process because actually we've talked about all the qualifying questions right now. And now we just have to wait a few seconds to allow Vapi to finish up the end-of-call report and then send it. We can just hit this button repeatedly to see if we get a new entry. And there we go. We can see that a new entry has been added to the workflow. And if we go again, then it has ran through completely. So we have green all over the place and then finished. The execution has been sent to N8N. It has been logged to the contact with the call being logged to. And now, hopefully, if we go into Supabase, we can see another call. And there we go. We have a second call in here. So this is the one we just had with $250 appointment value, then 48 hours response time, 6 estimates, false, true, false, and then some fucking random appointment date. And now if we go into the calls table, it's the same here. We have 2 entries here. And if we look into N8N, we can see that the execution has successfully went through. And with that, the whole build is done. From here, you can continue to build onto this system, but this is the baseline to have a reliable system that logs the data and collects the data so you can present your clients cool things. And with this setup, all your clients will be content because you can show them the data. Everything is logged into the CRM, and just as a brief recap, what we went through, we set up the structured outputs in Vapi, then we set up the custom fields in GHL, then we actually build out the automation in GHL with all the custom values, and then we send that data to N8N in order to log it to our Supabase tables, which we've created before based on my resource hub schemas. And again, if you want to get those Supabase schemas, go to the second link in the description down below. If you're a service business, then definitely go to the first link in the description down below and go through the lead leak check. It's completely free, no sign up required, 1 minute, and it will tell you exactly if and if yes, where leads are leaking in your funnel. Go and check that out. And apart from that, next video will be about appointment booking. So definitely make sure you are subscribed to this channel with the bell turned on so you don't miss the video. This is insane value and this will take your voice agent to the next level. Support this channel by just subscribing down below. Give this video a like and I'm gonna see you in the next one.